on that note, Seb, there's a really interesting part of the study that focuses on the factors that high net worth individuals consider when selecting a new wealth management provider. The number one thing they cited was reputation, and there's a lot of variability in how people think about reputation. For me, a good reputation in a wealth manager might be very different than what it might be for my mother or what it might be for my neighbor. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on that, and then how you think wealth management providers can use that information to put forth the reputation that their ideal clients are looking for. But on that note, the second point, the second factor that high net worth individuals looked at was ease of access to online information. And I'd be interested in your thoughts about, is that ease of access to their own information or ease of access to information about the wealth manager and his or her background, expertise, credentials, and capabilities, or both?
On the second question, it's typically both, because it would depend on circumstance. On the first, around reputation, the reputation management and reputation measurement is a really, really fascinating area for the future. We did touch on it a little bit with respect to LinkedIn and how that's influencing people's selection. I suspect when that client that came to you, Michael, about to determine whether they wanted to do business with the family office, they looked at the reputation of the individuals as much as they did of the brand. And reputation can be measured around how well it's covered, how visible the business is, what its content is like. But increasingly, we're also beginning to see how well it's, quote unquote, to use the digital world, liked or even rated. And we are going to move into that space, not just in the high net worth space, but even in the ultra high net worth space, where people will start to score reputations. And a reputation historically, something that a business was good at its reputation might be its growth in the number of relationships that it had. But that's not good enough. Now we're going to get much, much further, which is how good are those relationships? And people saying to you, I like them. And that goes a long way. Remember, 90% emotional, 10% mathematical.
Am I back in? Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, April.
Hey, yes.
Yeah, so what I've been wanting to weigh in, I've been in and out, but I think I can sort of summarize it. What's happened is the way that people are making decisions changed. So to go back to where we started earlier, you have in the past people would, of course, make a referral and you would go visit that wealth manager and you would work on their reputation based on sort of that. And today what happened, I think Michael gave the example of the client that looked at LinkedIn. So what's happened is the chain of events has changed, number one. So now you might get the referral, but you're going to go vet the referral. You're going to go online and take a look at what you see online. And then the third thing that I think sort of encompasses that, or is the umbrella, is what do they think of what they see online, right? And so in the past used to be considered a good reputation was something large or maybe finding nothing on the internet. Whereas today, we know that you need to see information on the internet. It needs to be on the internet. You might find good information. You might find bad information on the internet. But also, in terms of who the end buyer is, so for next gen, taking a look at the information that they see on the internet and judging those items that they find in terms of reputation are really key. So you get back to the point of how they message and how they talk about themselves needs to apply multi-generationally, right? So that using words like we've been in business for 100 years is not going to resonate with some of these new buyers.
Yeah, and, April, I totally agree with that. And the perspective that I would put on this whole reputational conversation and the difference that I think is there between the generations and maybe how to bridge that, but maybe what may be driving it more towards the younger generations is that in our business, right, we can talk all we want about, how many clients we have, where we're located, our history, all of that, which is interesting, okay? But if you think about if I think about our business as a family office, our whole mission as a family office is to empower and enable families to be successful, however they define it. Right? Period. End of story. And so I think the way we're talking about our reputation and our brand and our messaging needs to be about the impact that we have on families' lives and how we've helped families make a difference, how we've made a difference for certain families, how we've helped them feel empowered, whatever we've done to help them across generations. And I think if we can do much more of that and much less of, you know, we have this many of this and this many of that, I think we're going to appeal to a much broader, by the way, I think that will appeal not only to the next gen, but it will appeal to traditional.
Exactly. I mean, just the authentic way that we're doing this and talking about it.
Well, and it's an actual demonstration of how you work with clients and on their behalf, rather than just a pure reporting of what you do, how many employees you have, how many clients you have, how many assets you administer. It really talks about and demonstrates the level of engagement that you're willing to.
And the impact. And the impact. I think that this word impact is a really big deal, and you know, I've been spending some time really trying to understand what impact means, not just from an investment, right, but really social impact and mission driven, and you know, how is it that a business, right, what might be viewed as a more traditional business can actually have an impact in a social impact context. I think that's the future.
I mean, think about the fact that we're having this conversation over Google, which is a massive media company, but we've just spent the last, you know, couple of minutes talking about the importance of reputation, but online reputation is largely dependent on media platforms for helping people tell their story. And, you know, I'd love April's thought on, as wealth creators continue to come into the marketplace and then pass their wealth to younger generations, where is media going to fall out in this? Is it going to have as important a role in helping professionals, experts, and other specialists tell their story, or will there be some other way that people can engage with potential clients down the road?
Well, I think, you know, that's a terrific question, Hannah, and the idea of us, again, doing this Google Hangout right now makes us actually a media company, right? Because we're producing our own content and we're distributing our own content, and we're not relying on platforms like, you know, or channels like magazines or video channels or anything. It comes down to people being able to create their own messaging and their own channel and their own voice. So you don't have to go through a gatekeeper like a traditional media platform, let's say. You know, social and digital allows us to be able to create our own platforms any way we want. So we could have anyone invited to this call, for example. We can, you know, be as, we don't have to have a quote check, for example, like we did in the old days. And we don't have to have specific questions. And this is what that gives us, I think, is the most important thing that I take away from this. It's the authenticity, so that when people may watch this Google chat, they're going to learn so much about Hannah Shaw Grove, Michael Zuner, Seb Dovey, and April Rudin from watching us and listening to us, right? There's so much nuanced information just in the video, right, element of this. So we're not constricted. We're able to create our own content and, you know, do our own thing.